The other day, Nintendo threw their very own Switch presentation, which was overall pretty good. The presentation itself, not going into any detail about anything that was revealed during it, was probably their best presentation they've had in a long time. E3 2016 for Nintendo, as you'll remember, was specifically oriented around Breath of the Wild, which looked good at the time and still looks amazing right now, I'd say, but that wasn't enough to get people excited about what Nintendo had to offer for the future. And E3 2015 for Nintendo was filled with things people didn't really want, causing the presentation to be kind of lackluster. That's why I say this presentation was among the best they've had in a long time. It was straightforward, it went from game to game to game and had nice visual gags along with it. It spent a healthy amount of time on hardware and software for the Nintendo Switch, which I thought was pretty good. However, there's a difference to make between the presentation itself and the console. The plans they have for the console make me a bit concerned. As we speak, there are thousands of people who reacted positively and negatively to the Switch. Initially, I viewed the whole Switch presentation as positive. I thought that this console was a guaranteed success. It had so much going for it. But then I dug a little bit deeper. Before we touch on that, I want to get into the worst death that happened over 2016. The Wii U. There's no debating, the Wii U is officially dead. So what if it has Zelda coming in the future? There's not much else for the console going. And throughout its entire lifespan, there wasn't much going on for the console either. I'd argue, and I'll get into this in a future video, that the Wii U was a complete and utter failure. It didn't sell well as Nintendo had hoped, and really, you can only pin the blame on them. The Wii U's reveal had many problems. It was a confusing console to start out. As we all know, naming it the Wii U was a poor decision, but that wasn't the only reason why the Wii U failed. When it launched, it only had a few games that consumers could look forward to. None of the big third-party games like Madden, FIFA, and what have you were coming out for the system in the future. The lack of launch titles and really exciting games for the future made people not want to purchase the console. And as the years went on, Nintendo didn't provide enough software to incentivize people to invest money into the console. This is the problem I foresee having with the Nintendo Switch. Now again, I have to back up and say one thing. I do not want the Nintendo Switch to fail. Believe it or not, I do not want Nintendo to fail as a business. Their games are pretty good and I enjoy playing them and talking about them on this channel. Without Nintendo, I don't think my channel would be as successful as it is today. Probably even in the future, I'll make a positive video about the Nintendo Switch. You never know. But I can't ignore the flaws I foresee the Switch having. As I've said numerous times, it's always important in life to view the positives and the negatives. So what I'm saying is, if you are offended that I am critically looking at the Nintendo Switch and you love the thing to death, you've sold your soul to Nintendo, don't. Please do not. This is a video game console meant for entertainment. I'm not saying the thing will be bad, I'm just concerned about the financial future of the console. Why? Well, it's for numerous reasons. Number one, the launch day window is pathetic. Just launching with 1-2 Switch, Skylanders Imaginators, Just Dance 2017, Super Bomberman R, and Zelda Breath of the Wild is not going to move your console, Nintendo. Not to mention, none of those titles are bundled with the Switch itself. Unlike the Wii, you don't have something like Wii Sports to really get people hooked into buying your console initially. I'm sure not a lot of consumers are going to be buying 1-2 Switch, a $50 game. Right now, that's the price. Right now, it's subject to change, along with the $300 console. There's no doubt in my mind that Breath of the Wild is going to be one of the hottest Switch titles ever. But I don't think something like a Zelda game is going to push the sales of an entire console. Based on my research, it seems like Zelda games do net Nintendo a profit. But when you compare the sales of Zelda games to Mario games, obviously one is more popular. I personally believe that Nintendo should have launched Super Mario Odyssey along with the Switch. I feel like if you had that game along with Zelda launching for the Switch, there's no doubt in my mind that that console would be a huge success. Those are two games right there I'm personally excited for, and if you have them launching at the same time, there could be a lot of people lining up in stores and saying, oh, wow, there's a lot of games to play, so I want to buy it. Additionally, you have things like Super Bomberman R that really only appeals to people who liked Bomberman in the past, and Skylanders and Just Dance 2017, games you can already buy for other systems. Although they have other games in the spring and summer that are coming up, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, ARMS, and so much more, I don't think that's going to be enough for people to want to go out and drop $300 on a console. Consoles nowadays bank a lot of their success on two audiences, their fans and the general consumer base who aren't their fans. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch right now appeals to fans. It's got things for nostalgia like Sonic Mania, Super Bomberman R, and so on. But then you have titles for fans of their previous works like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Super Mario Odyssey, and Zelda. For the general consumer base, people who don't care about previously established IPs, you have things like Zelda that are pretty impressive visually, thus causing probably people to buy it, and really not much else. $300 is a good price for a console, but I don't think the games they've shown are enough to really get people invested in it. The price here isn't the issue, it's the games themselves, or the lack thereof, in the launch window. Not to mention, the console itself has a couple issues. The battery life is abysmal. For a console whose main gimmick is that you can play your beloved games on the go, the battery life really doesn't support that, nor does the marketing so far. Can we talk about that for a second? During the entire Switch event, Nintendo didn't really focus on the fact that this is a console you can take wherever you go. They didn't really drive that point home, even though that's one of the strongest points of the Nintendo Switch. I know why I loved my Wii U as much as I did, was that if one of my family members was using the TV, I could use the tablet and play games on there. That should be a huge marketing point, but it isn't. Instead, Nintendo is focusing on HD Rumble and motion controls that almost every console since the Wii has been using. As we know, the death of the Wii U was mostly because of the launch titles and marketing. Right now, the Nintendo Switch has an okay lineup for 2017, but the marketing isn't really all there. Nintendo should have spent a lot of time trying to convince the consumer base that this is a console you can take on the go and enjoy it wherever you want. Again, they've said that, but they haven't really shown it, if you get what I'm saying. Another problem I foresee people having with the console is the paid online. Paid online is a very divisive issue, I'd say. A lot of people support it, and a lot of people support not supporting it. Personally, I think paying for online is anti-consumer. I have a PS4, but you will never catch me buying any membership to an online service there. I buy single-player games for that, and any game that has multiplayer I try to play on the PC. When the Wii U came out, one of the biggest principles you saw people defending it on, when people were arguing that the PS4 or Xbox One was better, was that it had free online. Unlike those systems, you didn't have to pay for online, which was great. I imagine that having free online before probably caused them to lose money, and they could afford losing money with the success of the Wii, but nowadays, I imagine they can't. It's unfortunate, I suppose, but it's still something that I think people are negatively reacting to. I've offered a lot of criticism in this video, but I want to propose what Nintendo could have done better. I think if Nintendo pushed back the release date of the Switch to maybe December, it would have been a lot better. That way, the Nintendo Switch could have been unveiled during the hype of E3, and it would have given the console more time for development of other games. Apparently, Super Mario Odyssey is going to be released in holiday of 2017, and if that's the case, then pushing the release date back to then would have allowed it to come out when it was releasing. That way, the launch lineup would have been extraordinary, and probably you wouldn't see people like me complaining about what could go wrong or how it's destined to fail. And I'm not saying it's destined to fail, I'm just worried about its future. Because I know when the Wii U started to go downhill, Nintendo jumped ship. They started porting games to the 3DS and the Switch and abandoned it. They shafted Wii U owners because they knew it was not financially successful. I really don't want that to happen with the Switch, believe it or not. Hopefully this video was insightful, and remember, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. Just because we disagree doesn't mean you have to hate my guts. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.